Today I sat down with Charleston High School social studies teacher Matt Schubert, who has been teaching here for 26 years. The first thing I asked him about was how he got started teaching.
I've always been interested in history and government and politics and stuff. And while I was at Iowa, all of my extra classes were all in history. I decided then to come back to Eastern because some family stuff was going on. We might be moving to the other side of the country. We might be staying here. And I was talking with some friends about, what am I going to do? And I found out that about half of the department here was going to be retiring in 3 years. I enjoyed history, and so I thought, give this a try. And while I was at Eastern, I took it was actually not one of the social studies classes, it wasn't one of the education classes that I took, but it was the speech class that I took that made me realize that I could actually possibly do this. And I tried, got the job, and have been here 26 years.
I then asked him about what the biggest changes have been since he started teaching.
You're holding one of them now. When I started teaching in the fall of 2000, nobody had cell phones. I mean, that was a very small percentage of the population had phones. I didn't have one. I didn't get one until I was my third year teaching. We just all had landlines. The other thing that has been more of a recent change, the beginning of my second year here is when 9/11 occurred. The defining part of my career as a civics teacher was that. I mean, it was just like when that happened here at the high school, we did not have streaming. We didn't even have televisions at the time. We were actually sitting around listening to radio reports of what was going on, and no one knew what the heck was going on. There was no Facebook, there was no Twitter, there was no social media of any kind. We're just finding out little by little what's going on. For the first 15 years of my career, 15, maybe a little more than that, the one thing that everyone had in common was they remembered where they were when they found out about 9/11. That was just the big thing. And then little by little, it has become history. And to someone your age who was born after that happened, I mean, 9/11 is no different than Pearl Harbor. Two huge events in our history, but there's not a connection.
My final question for Mr. Schubert was any advice that he would give to anyone that's currently going into teaching.
First of all, you have to find how it works for you. I mean, not everyone teaches the same way. I'm not a yeller. I've got basic rules in my classroom, and if people are being a little nuts, I'm not going to start yelling over them. I'll just wait for them. And in a couple of minutes, people will start, he's ready, that type of thing. Doesn't work for everybody. You find out what's going to work, and maybe teaching isn't going to be for you. I mean, I found out pretty quickly that this was something that I was going to enjoy. I thought I could be fairly decent at, but find your own style. What works for you? What works for the person sitting next to you, to the left, to the right, is not probably going to be what's right for you. And secondly, this is going to sound nuts, but I would be mindful of your retirement from day one. This is changing so rapidly, education is. When I started, there were a gajillion of us, and today you're a much more valuable commodity, and there might be a little more fighting over where you get to go for a job. But be thinking about, they'll talk about a 403B with you, hopefully. Look at it, figure out how that can help you down the line. In case you don't want to be here till you're 67 years old.